Okay, this is our last video for Chapter 7, Section 3, and we are determining the excluded values in our product. There we go, the excluded values in our product or quotient. And what that's talking about is the domain, because remember you're not allowed to have a 0 in the denominator. So let's go here. So we already have done the entire lesson, and I didn't even mention it once, um, because quite frankly I didn't look at the book first, but I've looked at the book now, and they want us to talk about those excluded values. So if you look here, this is where x cannot be a 2 in the denominator. And that got scribbly. X cannot be a 2. But at some point during the process, x could also not be a negative 2. Now, your textbook says that as far as excluded values are concerned, and I'm going to read to you exactly what it says. It says the original expression is undefined when x equals negative 2. To make the original and simplified expressions equivalent, restrict the domain of the simplified expression by excluding x equals negative 2. Both expressions are undefined when x equals positive 2, so it is not necessary to list it. So your textbook thinks that this final answer is x minus 6 over x minus 2, where x is not allowed to be negative 2. And that's because they say it is obvious that x isn't allowed to be positive 2, but if you did not see the original, you wouldn't know that x isn't allowed to be negative 2. Okay, so let's look here. On our number 1, our final answer is 2 over x plus 3, so it is obvious that x cannot be negative 3, but we would also need to restrict the domain to those x values that would make this denominator equal to 0, which would be negative 1. And that is what they suggest the final answer should be. Same thing over here. It is obvious x can't be positive 4, but if you hadn't seen the original equation, you wouldn't know x couldn't be negative 4. Okay, look here. It's obvious x should not be negative 2, but according to the original, x is also not allowed to be 3. Okay, so what we're doing here is just restricting the domain. We're talking about what the domain can't be. Here, it's simplified out real nice, but we're going to say that x cannot be 0 and y cannot be 0 because we cannot have those zeros in the denominator all the way back at the beginning. Okay, over here, we're going to get what is not allowed by what is in the denominator. So look here, it is x plus 5, which means it's not allowed to be negative 5. It is x minus 1, so it's not allowed to be positive 1. And it is 3x, which means it's not allowed to be 0. So we're going to say this is where x is not allowed to be negative 5, positive 1, or 0, along with our final answer there. Okay, you getting the hang of what we're doing? So down here, we have what x's are not allowed to be. Sorry, I'm yawning. It is 10 o'clock at night after all. Okay, in order to figure out what x's aren't allowed to be on this one, we would have to do the quadratic formula, and it is too late for that, so we're going to skip it. Whoops, too many skips. Okay, over here, let's look. On number 5, what is x not allowed to be? What is y not allowed to be? 0. So x is not 0, y is not allowed to be 0. On number 6, remember the textbook says it's obvious it can't be 0. It is obvious that it cannot be -5. But unless you saw the original problem, you would not know the x cannot be +5. So connect that to your answer. Over here, it's another quadratic formula one, and I'm just not into that right now, so we're not going to do it. Same goes with dividing. So with the dividing, they're saying, hey, look at your original problem and decide what you're not allowed to be. So you've got this x minus 5, this x, and this x minus 6. So that means x is not allowed to be +5, 0, or +6. Last one for us. Look along the way. What did we have in the denominator? We have the x is not allowed to be 0. Again, it's not allowed to be 0. And it's not allowed to be -5/3. Okay, whoa, stop, right? Mrs. Riley, what did you just do? If 3x plus 5 is in the denominator, it cannot be 0. So if I solve that, I get 3x cannot be -5. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and x cannot be -5/3. Okay, so that sums up what the textbook wants you to learn for Chapter 7, Section 3. I hope you're having a good day.